Hi, hello. I have got another top 5 for you. Actually, I've got two. I've combined two things to do sort of like a bit of a shorter video rather than keep dragging this whole top 5 process on because I don't know if you guys are enjoying it or not. But I've combined bronzers and highlighters for today's top 5. And as always, when I do these top 5 videos, my number 5 is not necessarily going to be your number 5. It's just that I have kind of like ordered these from my, number 1 being my most favourite, and I like all the rest of them. It's just that I prefer some over others, but they all made the list because they're all fantastic. And so don't think that my number 5 is rubbish, because it's not. It's still on that list for good reason. Anyway, so let's just get straight into it then. So we're going to start with bronzers. And I've decided to do powder bronzers because powder bronzers are generally a lot easier to apply. I have 5 favourites, and the price ranges, they differ quite a lot. We have some cheapies and we have some that are slightly more expensive, but I do believe that you pay for what you get. So my number 5 then is the MUA Bronzed. That looks like this. This is the shade Solar. This one is £2.50. So this is on the cheap side. Well, it's on the very, very cheap side, isn't it? £2.50 is not a lot to pay for a decent bronzer. There are 4 different shades, so I'm assuming that you'll be able to find one that's, going to match your skin tone. This is the one that I picked up. Again, this is Solar. This is the one that I felt was more on the ashy side, because if you're looking for a contour powder, you're going to want something that is slightly ashier toned rather than being super warm. If you're looking for a bronzer, just an all over kind of like bronzing powder, then something that's quite warm is going to be okay. But if you're trying to get sort of like into that contour, I would always kind of advise having 2. Have one that's a nice all over bronzer, and have another one that's got a nice ashy tone that you can sort of like carve out your contour lines with and just use to create a bit more depth in that area. These are blendable and buildable. They are cruelty free and vegan, so that's 4 great points for a £2.50 bronzer. This is matte as well. If you're going for a bronzer, then shimmer is fine, but if you're looking for something to contour with, you want a matte powder. You don't want that shimmer to sort of like, especially if you're going for more of a natural look. If you're trying to get a natural look, then you want a matte powder. Otherwise, a shimmer is just going to make it like blatantly obvious that you've got a face full of makeup. So shimmer is not the way to go should you want to look natural. I do like these. I find the only sort of gripe I've got about it is that it can go patchy. So if you aren't setting your face, like setting your foundation with a powder, and you're just trying to sort of put, because sometimes I'll use a bronzer because it's a powder, I'll use that to set that area of my face, so I'm not having to use a shit ton of powder, and that kind of gives a more natural look. The only gripes I have with this is it doesn't work so well for that. I would advise setting your face first with a powder and then using the bronzer, because it can go a bit patchy. So if you're trying to use it to set that sort of like contour area, I find that it really clings to the foundation, then I get sort of like patchy areas. It's not massively obvious, and it's probably a lot more obvious to me because of what I do. So but it's definitely something to watch out for. But for £2.50, it's definitely worth a try, because if it works for you, then that's all well and good, isn't it? Right, so the next one then, my number 4. My number 4 is the Barry M Staycation. This is a relatively new one to me. In fact, it's that new that I had to add it onto the list that I'd already created like a month ago to get these videos done. So but it fast became a favourite when I did the full face of Barry M. I needed to get a Barry M bronzer, so I went out and I got this one. It's vegan and cruelty free as well, but as are most Barry M products. They are nearly majority vegan and cruelty free, which is great news. So they're obviously great points for me. I do believe there's only the 1 shade of this, but they do have 2 different colours in. So where I was saying you need a separate bronzer and contour powder, well, you don't, it's not necessary, but it works better if you do. This one's got the 2-in-1, so you've got the kind of like warm, you can see the difference straight away. You've got the warm shimmer bronzer here, and then the matte contour powder there. So you're getting 2-in-1 there, and it's only $5.99, so it's another cheapie. It ticks a lot of boxes in terms of cruelty-free and vegan and all that stuff. So, you know, it's worth every penny. I do like this. It goes on really well. It doesn't sort of give you patchy areas like the MUA one does. So you can get away with using that to kind of like set the face. And I love that it's got two different powders in there. It's got two tones, one shimmer, one matte. So you've got the two powders in one palette. Which obviously is a lot cheaper and a lot easier and more space saving, isn't it? So my number 3 is the Too Faced Soleil bronzer. This is in the shade Chocolate Soleil. They do two. There's a Chocolate Soleil, which is this colour. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's the darker version, or they do a milk chocolate, which is slightly lighter. And it is called chocolate because it smells like chocolate. It smells delicious. And when I use this on people, they're like, oh, what is that? That smells like food. So it's got a really, really appealing scent to it. And it's such a buttery powder that it blends so perfectly when you're using it for a contour or to sort of bronze up a bit. It's got such a buttery formula that it blends super easy. There's no patchiness. You can use it to set those areas, like I said, about the Barry M one. It's buildable as well, so you can put as much or as little on as you want, and you can really work until you've got the right level of colour that you need. It's got a nice ashy tone as well. It's not overly ashy, so you still get kind of a hint of warmth in there, but it is see, I can't even swatch it for you because it just blends straight out. But it's still warm enough to use as a bronzer, but ashy enough to use as a contour as well. It's actually infused with real cocoa powder. That's what gives it the scent, and I'm not sure if that's what gives it a bit of its colour as well, which is quite cool. It's long lasting as well. The Too Faced website will tell you that. It's got an 8-hour wear on it, so sometimes you can notice that contour will fade or it'll start slipping if you're using a cheaper powder. But as with most top end stuff, they tend to have a guideline of wearability. So this one is like 8 hours, which is another bonus. It's gluten, paraben, cruelty free and vegan, so it literally ticks all those boxes. So if you have a gluten allergy, then this is perfect for you. Obviously I don't have any other bronzer that states it is gluten free, so if you have an allergy, check out the Too Faced one. It's also paraben free, so there's no nasty chemicals in there. It's good to use on your skin, and obviously cruelty free and vegan is always a massive bonus. This was my favourite powder for a long time, simply because I liked using I liked the quality of the top end bronzer. It was such a nice powder to work with, especially when I was working on clients. Like, I guaranteed that it would suit most people's skin tones. I guaranteed that it would blend out perfectly when I did a bride, and I wasn't going to be worrying about patches showing up on their wedding day kind of thing. So it's always been a really great fallback for me, even when I've been trying others and I've fallen in love with those. It's always been one that I'll come back to. My number 2 is the Peaches and Cream Sculpting Powder. Unfortunately, this is no longer available on the website. I had a look to see if I could find it, and I couldn't. So I was a bit gutted. I don't know if they'll be bringing it back out. I don't know if they're going to offer it again, because I'd like to get the slightly darker one if they did, because they did do a couple of shades. I couldn't get the price either, obviously, because it wasn't showing up on the website, but it wasn't a lot. I think it was like less than a tenner. And what I like about this is that it's a really nice sort of, it works for really pale skin tones, and it's a nice, it's a lovely tone, because you can barely see it on my finger there. it's a really soft powder as well, so it blends in lovely. I'm wearing it today actually. I like to use this when I do nose contours because it's not too dark that you're going to leave those really obscure lines that show up massively, and you can actually blend it out really well, but you can still see the colour there, so you've still got that nice defined contour, but you're able to blend it out, and it's a nice colour as well, so it doesn't look massively in your face. But like I say, unfortunately it is unavailable, so I am sorry about that. I shouldn't really add unavailable products into my list, should I? But I couldn't help it because that is genuinely one of my favourites. And if they, you know, happen chance put it back on the website again, then I'd highly recommend purchasing it before it disappears. So that brings me to my number one, and my number one is probably a bit controversial because MAC are known to not be vegan or cruelty free, which isn't great, and I know that many people don't support that. I don't support that at all, but I do love MAC makeup and I try to buy as little as possible. But these are the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. They are the natural powders. I have two. I have the shades Give Me Sun, which is this colour, and the shade Dark Deepest, which is this colour. So Give Me Sun and Dark Deepest. Now you can't really sort of see a massive difference in colours there, can you? So it kind of seems a bit pointless having the two. However, you can see the colour difference when they're on the skin. I use Dark Deepest. I normally use these on tanned skin. I use Dark Deepest as the contour, and then I use Give Me Sun as sort of like the warming up bronzer. But they've got sort of low level pearlized pigments in it, so it's got a really nice reflective illuminating quality, but not shimmery, not glittery. So when you think like pearlized pigment, you think it's going to have like a iridescent sheen or something to it, but it doesn't. It just really, it makes those areas look more radiant where you use it, and it helps to sort of like blend into your skin. It helps your skin to look more natural, and give you that kind of like natural skin-like finish, as opposed to having this, you know, thick powder on that just kind of adds up the cakey layers of product. It's got a lovely, nice, natural finish to it. It's got a 77 mineral complex and vitamin E in it as well, so it's another thing that's good for your skin, and you perhaps don't think that's believable out of a powder, but it is. Like I say, 77 minerals. I mean, who can complain at that? It's non-acnegenic as well, which is a massive thing for me when I look for a product. And I've had several bronzers and powder products in general that have broken me out before, and I've been absolutely gutted because I've loved them, but they just didn't like me. My skin didn't like them, and that was a real bummer. But this one is non-acnegenic, so it doesn't break you out, which I'm super pleased about. I have found one of my sort of gripes with it, which is bizarre because it's my number one, but I have found that you have to sort of really blend it out when you're using it as a setting powder. So if you're not setting your face fully first, and then you try and go in with this and use it to set that area, it can look a bit unblended, so you've got to work at it, but the finish is impeccable. There's also 15 shades. They do a light as well, which you can obviously use to set your face with, so it's not just like, you know, bronzy colours. But go through the list anyway. There's quite a few different ones. My most recommended are the Give Me Sun, Dark Deepest and Dark Tan. Those normally suit most skin colours, most skin tones. If you are super pale though, there are lighter shades on there. Right, my bonus product then is how I said at the beginning of this video, the difference between powders and cream contours. I like to do a cream contour when I do anything that's got kind of like dewy skin, because it tends to look a bit more natural and flattering than powders. So my go-to contour stick is this. This is the Revolution Fast Base stick. Now they're a foundation stick and they do them in different shades. I've got a couple of them. These are ones that I use as a foundation, so F2 and F6. But if you buy the darker shades, this one for instance is F14. You get this sort of like really nice chocolate brown shade. And because it's a foundation stick, there are loads and loads and loads of different colours. It's a good alternative to powder because it's a cream based product. So it's great if you've got dry skin or, you know, sort of older skin, more mature skin that is more susceptible to wrinkling, because when you put powders and, you know, you're layering products like foundation, concealer, powder, when you're laying them all on top of each other like that, there's more of a chance of them sitting in the fine lines, sitting in those creases that you've got, or even if you've got sort of enlarged pores, there's more chance of them sitting in sitting in that if it's a powder and has a tendency to look cakey. So if you have got any of those complaints, then it's a good idea to try cream contour, or just using it as a cream bronzer, just putting a few dots on and blending it out with a brush as you would do with a powder. Then, you know, it's a good alternative to that. So it's a good idea to try a cream stick. And the foundation sticks are good because you've got that extra coverage as well. So you've, you know, especially if you're kind of like super acne prone, you've got a lot of breakouts, you get a little bit extra coverage using the foundation stick. And it is really blendable because it's a foundation stick. It's made for that purpose. So it's got fantastic coverage as well as being really blendable and buildable, which means you can just use a tiny little bit if you want a nice light bronzing, or you can go whole hog and sort of like make it a little bit darker, build it up a bit more if you want a sort of in your face contour. Moving on to highlighters. I'm trying to make this a shorter video because I know most of my videos so far have been kind of like really long and drawn out, and people must get like 20 minutes into it and think, for God's sake, woman, shut up or get on with it. Because I know I would if I was watching myself. That's why I don't watch myself. Anyway, so top 5 highlighters then. So my number 5 is a highlighter by The Balm, and many of you might not have heard of The Balm. They're a sort of like oldie, worldy company that I used when I first started makeup. They were quite big then. I don't know if they're as big now because there are many other companies out there that are doing stuff. So they've kind of like fallen into the background a little bit. But like I say, when I first started doing makeup back in 2015, 16, whenever it was, they were quite big then. And everybody was using the Mary Lou Manizer by The Balm. And I had to buy it. At the time, I think I got it on offer and it was 15 quid. Most recently, I found it on Feel Unique for 20. So it is more on the pricey side. But it's a lovely, subtle, honey-hued luminizer. And it's more of one for somebody that doesn't want that really sort of tinny look. As you can see there, it's just got a really nice luminescent quality to it, and it's a lovely colour that works for tan skin or paler skin. It suits most skin tones. It doesn't leave you with a chalky effect. It doesn't give you that kind of like really thick powdery effect either. It's just got a lovely subtle luminescence to it. And it lasts for a long time as well, so it's not going to drop, it's not going to fade. And it gives you kind of like that nice dewy shimmer rather than like a really in-your-face either tinny or glittery highlighter. So if you're wanting something that's nice and subtle, you don't want a highlighter that's really in your face or really strong, then I'd definitely recommend trying the Mary Lou Manizer, because it has got that lovely subtleness to it that makes you look kind of fresh and dewy rather than really tinny. It's also cruelty-free and vegan as well, so another tick in the box. It's kind of like a champagne colour, if that gives you a good idea of what it's like. It's kind of like champagne-y. So if you've got yellow undertones or pink undertones, it should work for you. probably suited mostly towards the yellow undertones. But they do another one as well. There's not just the Mary Lou, there's another one, and I can't remember the name of it. But if you look on the Balm's website, or go on to, you know, Google, do a quick Google search for the Balm highlighters, you might be able to find the other shade that way. You also might be able to find it cheaper than I did. Right, so that was my number 5. My number 4 is a bit of a peculiar one. This is the Makeup Revolution Unicorn Heart. I love makeup, it is, but it's this one anyway. It's the Unicorn Heart, and that looks like this. You can tell I've used the sort of goldy shade mostly rather than any others, but I like it because there's different colours in there, so I can kind of match them to whatever look I'm doing, whether that's purple or pink or blue or whatnot. So I've got a choice of colours there. It's also really blendable and buildable, so you can really work that highlighter up. You can build it up and get a really nice strong finish, or you can use it like you would do with the Balm for just a nice subtle glow. So I'm just going to take a mixture of the blue and the green shades here. This one I feel is slightly more shimmery than the Balm, so it's quite a bit stronger. Obviously you can see the Balm is quite subtle, and that's the Unicorn Heart next to it, and it's quite blingy. That is the blue and the green mixed together. But when you kind of try the gold, you can still see that it's quite a lot stronger than the Balm. So it is quite strong, but it's quite dewy as well. So yeah, but it, like I say, it's a nice dewy shimmer. So you kind of get that like nice dewiness when you use it, as opposed to like a glitter. It is a tiny little bit more shimmery than the Balm though, so you get that stronger effect. Right, my next one, this is another thing that is now unavailable, which I had no idea about. I don't know whether that's because the company have stopped selling it or whatnot. I can't even pronounce this company's name properly. It's spelt Rivehr, so I don't know whether that comes out as Rive HR or Riviere. I'm not sure. I don't know how to pronounce these things. I'm not very clued up. But they do these glass skin highlighters. So they do 2 different shades. Well, I think they do more than that, but I bought 2 different shades. The only downside to these highlighters is that they break really, really easily. I mean, I haven't even dropped it. I know I'm clumsy, but I genuinely haven't dropped either one of these, and you can see how broken they are. This one is almost dust. This one is cracked in several places. So yes, like I say, no, I'm clumsy. Genuinely didn't break them though, did not drop them. They just break on their own when I'm just putting the brush in. So I don't know what the crack is there. Crack, get it. So, but these are the glass skin highlighters anyway, and they really are what they say they are. It does what it says on the tin. It's got a fantastic payoff. It really is a strong highlighter. Strong in the sense that it is like glass. It's glass, gives you glass skin, not shimmery or glittery or anything like that. It's just a really strong, dewy, glass-like highlighter, which looks even stronger if you set your face first with setting spray. So I'm just going to swatch both shades. Right, so the shades I bought then were number 2 and number 1. So number 1 is kind of like a pinky toned colour, and number 2 is more of a gold tone colour. So I bought them like that so that I could cater for both kind of skin types, undertones. And these are those swatches. So this is number 1 and this is number 2. But you can see how strong they are. That's just kind of swatching on my arm as well. Obviously when it's on your cheekbone it stands out a lot more, and if you set your face first and then apply it to a slightly sticky surface, it's even stronger. But it really does give you that glass skin, that dewy skin effect. It's not glittery in the slightest, which is brilliant. So if you're looking for a strong highlighter, well, no, I can't say that because it's unavailable. So if you're looking for a strong highlighter, don't buy that because you can't. Sorry about that. But you can give them a quick search on Instagram. I don't know, they might pop up again. Anyway, my number 2 then, moving on, is the Doll Beauty Doll Light, and the shade I bought was Like a Diamond. This is the lighter shade, but they do a more champagne-y shade. Well, this is champagne. They do a darker sort of like goldy toned one as well, which is Shine Bright, I think. This one is the lighter shade. This is another one. This is probably the closest to the Rive HR glass skin highlighters. In fact, it is slightly stronger than those as well. So, and I like the colour of this one. It is another one that looks good on both sort of skin tones, like both undertones. But I think probably mostly suits paler skin better. If you're more tanned, then perhaps try the Shine Bright one instead. That might be a little bit darker. So this is Like a Diamond from Doll Beauty. Again, you can see how strong it is. It's a super strong sort of Tin Man highlighter, that is. You can have a bath in that, like me, or you can just use it on your cheekbones. Again though, with it being so strong, if you were trying to go for like a subtle glow, you'd probably want to go on quite lightly with that, rather than, you know, bang it on like I have and do. So or if you want it even stronger, use that tip, like I said, set your face first and then put it on. But it's really sort of like glassy. There's no glitter or sort of like dusty shimmer. It's not a powdery highlighter either. It is susceptible to breaking like the glass skin highlighters are. You can just tell that with the formula, but I don't know whether that's because they're intensely pigmented, so it's more like a pressed pigment than you know, a powder. I'm not sure. Right, and that brings me to my number 1. This is a relatively new purchase for me, and you've probably seen me use it and fall in love with it when I did the Full Face of Barry M. So obviously it is a Barry M highlighter. This is the Baked Tri-Blend highlighter from Barry M. So, oh, hang on a second, I didn't tell you, these Doll Beauty highlighters are £15 direct from the Doll Beauty website, which I don't think is too bad in the grand scheme of things. The glass skin highlighters from Rive HR, they were about 11 quid. So, like I mentioned at the start of this video, you pay for what you get. You get what you pay for. So, spending a little bit extra money is not always a bad thing, especially if you're buying products like this from Doll Beauty. So, amazing. However, that being said, you can also get, like I mentioned, cheaper, sort of more budget end products that will blow your mind, like the Barry M Tri-Blend highlighter did for me. This is £6.49, so just shy of £6.50, and it is the most intense highlighter I think I have ever come across. Like, I can, hand on heart, I haven't found a highlighter this intense. And you know me, you know I like a intense highlight, and I could swim in the stuff, so I'm in love, obviously, but it also works so that if you like it slightly more subtle, you can get that as well. You just got to put it on a little bit less. I think you can make most powder products work for you, if they're the right consistency, obviously. You can make them work for you by either applying with a light hand or a slightly heavier hand, building up the product, blending it out more. It's just a technique, really. So if you wanted to try and get this to be a little bit more subtle, then you just use a fluffier brush and a lot less pressure, and you'll get that kind of subtle effect. But if you're like me and you like it to be insanely intense, then sort of a denser brush, using that to apply it, and obviously sometimes setting your face first and having it stick to a tacky skin will give you a really phenomenally intense, phenomenally fantastic colour payoff. It would be really, really strong, really, really bright. So this is the shade Silver Solstice. They do another one, which I think is a gold one as well. It's Barry M, so it's vegan and cruelty free, which is another tick in the box. That's fantastic. It's dirt cheap, so it doesn't break the bank, even if you just wanted to try it out. So this has a couple of different shades. It's got a silver tone, a gold tone, and then it's got kind of like a rose gold tone in the middle. So you could either concentrate just the kind of silver one or the gold one, depending on what you want to do, if you're trying to match it to a look. Or when I use it, I just kind of go over all three colours, just to get a nice mix of all of them. So now you can really see how insanely bright it is. Just look at that. It shows up almost white. So that is the Super Bright Doll Beauty highlighter. And this is the Barry M Tri-Blend. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how they have got it like that. It's crazy. Obviously, in person, you can really see the pigment. You can really see the colours of it and the reflection of it. Whereas on camera, it tends to just look a bit white, and if you worry that that's going to sort of like give you a bit of a white out and make it look chalky on your face, it really doesn't. It just gives a super reflection, and I don't know whether you've probably noticed that on my videos before. You can see, if you are interested in seeing what it looks like on the skin, go and have a watch of the Barry M full face that I did recently, because I use that highlighter on there, and you can see just how nice it looks on the skin. It's not just, you know, it doesn't give you a white chalky finish. It gives you a really nice sort of dewy skin shine. And if you like the Tin Man look, then bang it on, because you can really achieve it with this, especially if you use just the silver one, I guess. But I can see all the kind of like different tones, and if you incorporate the rose gold one in the middle, it gives you this really nice pinky sort of tone to it. So that'd work well if you've got pink undertones in your skin, or you can avoid the rose gold and kind of just use the gold and silver tones in there if you've got sort of like a more yellow undertones. Right, so that is the end of my bronzers and highlighters, but I do have one sort of bonus product that's a highlighter. This again is another relatively new purchase. This is one that I picked up the other week, and since I bought it, I cannot stop using it. I'm wearing it today. I used it in my dewy skin tutorial that I posted a few days ago. This is the Frank Body Illuminator. You can buy this from Look Fantastic, my fave website, for £9, which is next to nothing. This is a cream highlighter, so it's not a powder. When you think cream, you probably think like gloopy or slidey or slimy. It's none of those things. It's more like a balm, so it's kind of more like a Vaseline kind of texture, but when it goes on your skin, you don't get that sticky like feel that you would get with Vaseline. It kind of melts into your skin and just leaves like the sheen on top. But this works absolutely brilliantly for the dewy skin effect, and it's got such a gorgeous shine to it. It gives you a really glossy effect, as you can see there, so you can still sort of see your natural skin tones through it, but when it hits the light, you've got that lovely, that really beautiful reflection, that really nice sheen, that glossy effect, which works so well for dewy skin. So I had to add that on there, even though it's a cream product. I had to show you that and tell you a little bit more about that, because I'm absolutely in love with this, to the point where I probably doubt that I will be using powder highlighter again. I love it that much. When I've tried to use creams or glosses, or sort of like liquid, you know, like the iconic liquid highlighter drops, when I've tried to use those in the past, I've always ended up putting them on, and when I'm sort of blending it out, when I'm patting it out, it'll take off the makeup underneath, So I'll put it on, and then I'll end up with like patches where the liquid is sort of like mixed with the powder and foundation underneath and just left like a patch. It's just pulled it off, which is not very nice, because then I get really frustrated because that was the last part of my look. And then I've got these patches, so I have to go back over with a beauty blender, try and cover it up, and it's just a massive ball ache. So this is the first cream like liquid highlighter that I have used that does not pull the makeup off underneath. It just leaves you with a beautiful glossy effect. It gives you a really nice sort of dewy shine to the skin. You can see it reflecting there. The light just bounces off it. And dependent on what kind of look you're going for, you can get just a nice glow, a nice sort of lit from within glow from it if you blend it out. Obviously I've put it on my hand, I've blended it out, and you can just see it's got this really nice sheen on the back of my hand now. It's just a nice soft glow, so you can build it up and have it as strong as you want it. You can also use it on the body, so you can put it on your collarbones, on your chest if you're sort of going out and you're wearing like a low cut top or whatever. You can use it on your shins, on your legs if you're wearing a skirt and you want to sort of like give that like sun-kissed look. If you've got a tan on, you can use it on there. You can put a bit on your shoulders. It's multi-purpose. It doesn't strip away the makeup. It sinks into your skin. It glides on so easily. You've not got like a tacky finish to it, so your face gets oily or anything like that. It's just, and like I say, you can have a nice subtle. You can have a nice subtle finish, or you can make it stronger, and it's only £9, so it's well worth the money. So if you're looking for something for the summer, something that you can just give yourself a little bit more life with, just to brighten up some areas, or just make you look a bit more sun-kissed if you're going out or if you're on the beach or whatever, then try the Frank Body Illuminator. You will not regret it. And I hope you don't regret watching this video, because again, I realise it's probably been quite long. It's probably going to be around half an hour. So I hope you don't regret sitting here and watching it. I hope that you find some of these recommendations useful. And if you do go out and purchase them, let me know. Tag me in your post. You know, put it on, post it, tag me in it. I'd be interested to see what you think to them too. And I can guarantee you that it won't be a waste of money. Should you buy any of these, you will more than likely love them, because I know I do. So that's it for today. I will more than likely be back. I have only got one top 5 left on my list now, and that's the setting sprays, so I shall be back with that video shortly, and probably some more tutorials. If you guys have got anything specific that you want to see, then let me know down below in the comments. If not, I will see you guys soon, and take care. Bye bye.